Okay, does governance really help? PSEI, you know that, Philippine Stock Exchange Index, is foreseen to be hitting 6,000 in 2013, compared to 2,500 in late 2008 when there was this financial debacle, right? Because of the subprime. And then on October 4, just almost 1 month ago, the PSEI closed above the 5,400 index, the 23rd high market. 23rd high market closed in 2012. So we've been going higher and higher and higher, and once we hit 6,000, that's really awesome, as the Americans will say. And ADB and IMF raised growth forecast for the Philippines by 0.7 percentage points. Now, what is amazing about this? Not 7%, it's 0.7%. What I'm saying is that if we are seen to be growing only by, let's say, 4 or 5, people say we'll grow by 5.7. They're adding that 0.7 percentage compared to other economies. When they did the forecast, ADB and IMF lowered other countries, but we were raised. We were one of the very few whom these two economic agencies see as really growing despite the global downturn. So that's the good aspect about that. Meaning we're growing against all odds. Next. Is that it? I'm done. There's no more? Okay, so the free side, okay. The other one is, of course, we have strong fiscal position. We have already reached 81.9 billion in international reserves, and I think it's going up. That means we can afford to import a lot, for 1 year without really worrying about shortage of foreign currency. And then, despite the global downturn, despite what's happening in Europe, Philippine exports grew by 7.7% during the first half of 2012. Okay, next. And then services earnings reached $11 billion. These are the things that come from, even there are a lot of services that we do, among them call centers. We also have financial services, transport services. And then investment increased by 22% from last year's level, and tourist arrivals increased from 3.5 to, it disappeared, 3.7 level. Now, the reason why our tourists are not yet arriving is because of the terrible condition at Naya. Second, we have no direct flights from Europe. It's also because this is also another policy that we should get rid of, the common carrier tax that they impose on airlines. We still have a very high CCA, as they call it, or CCT. And therefore, KLM, the last European airline that flies to Manila directly, decided to stop operations in Manila. So in effect, if we want to attract European tourists, we have to remove that CCA or CCT, so that it will be easier for them to fly to the Philippines. And we have no direct flights to anywhere in Europe. We have to fly via Bangkok, Hong Kong, Singapore, and then we have to go to the Middle East. Those of you who travel a lot, you either pass through Doha, Abu Dhabi, and Dubai. And of course, it takes a lot. For us especially, I went to Vladivostok, or I went to St. Petersburg one time. It took me almost 2 days to return to Manila because of all the connecting flights. And I said, oh my God, if I were a tourist, I wouldn't go to Manila because of all the connections that I have to get, from one segment to another. I wish you can really fly straight to Europe or straight to other countries, but other airlines would like to do that, but we have that, again, that extra taxation that we add to airlines. So we are working on that with the Department of Finance, and the Department of Finance knows it. The other one, of course, is that we failed the airport security. I think Meng knows about this, she works on this a lot. We are being graded in terms of airport security and all that, also our airlines, and we failed that. So the good news is we're working with the European Union to lift that up for us. This is all from the European Union because you see what happened was Philippine Airlines, which was bought by Ramon Ang, you know this news, right, and company, they ordered, would you believe, close to 200 Airbuses, new fleet. They're refleeting the Philippine Airlines and Cebu Pacific. I mean, together, Cebu Pacific and Philippine Airlines together have ordered 200 new Airbuses. And in exchange, we asked the French government to help us lift the ban on Philippine Airlines, not just Philippine Airlines, Philippines Airlines, so that at least we can travel back and forth and say that we can bring more tourists in the Philippines. And then what else needs to be done? We have to address coordination failures and reverse policies that are wrong. As I said, please go on with the most useless regulations so that we can reverse them. And then we have to address smuggling, law and order problems. Smuggling, I think there's something being done about this, but I really don't have the latest figures. But law and order, that will depend, of course, on the local governments again, and also on our PNP and the ILG. We need to upgrade logistics, transport, communication, and power. We have one of the most expensive power costs in the region, but some people tell me that we have already peaked, that somehow starting this year, the rate should go down in comparison to others. Because remember, when we entered into government contracts on power generation, it was during the time when we were having rolling brownouts during the time of President Corazon Aquino. And somehow the Ramos administration, when they came into power, what they got into were higher costs. So hopefully, those, you know how it is when you get into contracts, you go up and then later it goes down. So they say that the power generation should start going down, thank God. And of course, we have to enhance training and improve education. This is one reason why I entered education. I put all my savings from my overseas assignments into putting up a school. Because the more I see people, the more I talk to them, the more I feel like pulling my hair. I said, why is it these people cannot write proper English? Why is it they cannot even speak properly? Why can't they not do these equations? Why cannot they do that? You know, and I realized that basically Filipinos have lost the skill to think because we are forgetting how to think logically, and therefore I think we should do more education that's focused on mathematics and science. I'm advertising my school here if you notice. Okay? So that's why I focus on science and math education, because out of that frustration. I said if they know how to think, they will know how to make wise decisions, not only personally, for business, and they will also become good employees. What else needs to be done? Promote linkages among local manufacturers. Now, let me expand that. I don't know whether it's your experience, but isn't it somehow when somebody produces a product, shouldn't that product also be used by another input? Meaning we're talking of inputs here. We're talking of the supply chain. Somehow I feel that sometimes we have to source our needs outside, and perhaps there's a Filipino manufacturer whose products you can use within your own production. Then it will lower down costs, and at the same time, it will also promote linkages among our manufacturing sectors. So here, promote linkages among local manufacturers. And of course, I'm also thinking of the SMEs, the small and medium enterprises. When people talk to me about SMEs, I don't see them as cottage industries. Some people see them as somebody who manufactures candles and soaps, cosmetics. I see SMEs as part of the global supply chain. If, for instance, I can manufacture a piece that can be part of another product, and the product can be part of another product, can you imagine that if the main product grows, I grow with them? It's almost like you are flying with the big producers. So if you can all link up to a big manufacturer, I mean, even if I'm just, let's say, in charge of the bottles of a particular big product, I will earn already just by being, taking care of the bottling part. Or if I just produce the cap in the bottle rather, and then later on, the more products are sold with this particular bottle, I grow because I am the cut manufacturer. I think you know what I'm trying to say here, isn't it? It has to be, if you chop up production, I should be part of that production. That is what I define as SME. It's small, but it grows. Yeah, for me, the best example is Sherwa. Where's that? Taiwanese product, that mobile phone, HTC. She started as just manufacturing a part of that for another Taiwanese manufacturer. Is it Acer? She was just producing some parts for Acer. And then pretty soon she started to grow with Acer. She started to grow with the other computer companies. Then pretty soon she had enough capital to put up her own company. Now she produces HTC. And she's a woman who really made money for herself, by herself, and she's the richest woman right now in Taiwan. And then, of course, you have to review regulations that are burdensome to business. I've been talking about this since I started. Then we have to improve market access. We're negotiating that. That will fall on us. Foreign Affairs and DTI, we're trying everything to do to improve market access. And then expand fiscal incentives beyond PESAs. Meaning, if there's something that you can do, if you can, I mean, we know that, but perhaps we also need some push from you. You say, please go beyond PESA. And also go beyond Clark. I have a historical frustration with Clark, if I may say so. Every time I try to bring investors here, they say that the cost of doing business at Clark is expensive. Is it true? Yeah. Or sometimes they want a location and they say there's a franchisor that they have to deal with. Is that true? Yes. He said, why the hell is this happening? Why do people have to deal with a franchisor when people should only deal with Clark? You know, one time I tried to bring a hospital here, an American hospital, and they're supposed to be, I'm talking about 2000, you know, even before I even became an ambassador, I was already interested in promoting economic development. That's why right now, I was appointed as Undersecretary for International Economic Relations, because they know I'm one of the few officers who see that to address political problems and other problems, we have to create more wealth, we have to create more businesses. And that hospital is supposed to be tied to a retirement village. And you know, retirees, they want their own hospitals, right? I see Abong. Abong, you know this. Remember, this was our project 12 years ago. And we even put up a foundation just to encourage. The problem that we faced was the Clark franchisors arrangement. The hospital people who wanted to bring in a modern hospital had to deal with the franchisor or franchisee, the person who franchises. Is that a franchisee? Yeah. Yeah. And they said we should pay something at that time. They were asking for something like, I can't remember, is it 5 million, 10 million up front? So the American said, what's that? We haven't even started. We're already paying franchises fee. Because I think in the previous years, when they converted Clark, they allotted lots to franchisees. So these prime lots that these investors are interested in, they're controlled by the franchisees. And you have to pay what they paid for that franchise. And of course, nobody wants to pay that. You mean you pay 10 million upfront, then you still pay the rent? I mean, I'm not crazy. I mean, even if I want to do business here, I'm already from Angeles, I wouldn't do that. And then last December, you know, Tito Panlillo, Undersecretary of Trade and Industry, who's in charge of promotion, he's also from Angeles, by the way. Can you imagine both of us are from Angeles? And yet we cannot bring business to Angeles because of the regulatory problems here. So one time we were together at a dinner and he said, for those of you that, I'm speaking to Pampante and I'll translate later. He said, Lula, mangailangan kong kain, baragulang dubon mo kanya. I think mga 10 hectares. Karakalking kulang ka ako. Aliya, no? Problema mamaya ka pang nalita ka rin ng franchises. At ibay tayo, okay? Translation. There was somebody who was looking for 10 hectares, and I said, go to Clark. And then this Undersecretary for Trade and Industry, who's in charge of investment promotion, said, I'm sorry, we tried, but the cost is too high because they have to pay something to a franchisee. So I said, does that still exist? And he said, yes. So he said, okay, I said, I'll help you look for a piece of property outside Clark. So you see, they're looking now at properties outside Clark. I mean, my goodness, when you promote Clark, you have 10,000 hectares, supposedly. Look, these are two people, two officials of government who are undersecretaries already. If Tito Panlio tells me that, when he told me that, I got worried. Because he's the one who goes abroad and tries to attract investors, okay? In my case, I'm one of those who try to sell the Philippines through negotiations. I don't deal with investors directly. And at the same time, when I go abroad, I tell people this is what we're doing. In a way, I'm trying to promote the Philippines to other governments. But Tito Panlio is promoting the Philippines to the private sector. And if he himself already is still complaining, then that's why I got worried. I said, no wonder. I said, Clark is not moving as fast as it should. I don't know what you can do about that. I think you're here, you know the problems. If you really have to sit seriously, please do so, because otherwise we will be left behind. Not yet left behind. Everybody's going south, if you notice, going down to Batangas, Cavite. Everybody, pretty soon, people will be going to Mindoro. And here we are, we're supposed to be located in one of the biggest spaces in the Philippines. If you put 10,000 square meters, do you know that you are bigger than Singapore and Brunei combined? That's what I often tell the Singaporeans. I said, hey, you're just 540 something square hectares or whatever. And I would look down on them for their spaces, but they would all often tell me, look, maybe we are just 1/20th or one even of what you are, they said, but we use our space wisely. Whereas for us, we have all this space, it's empty, it's not productive. So okay, I'm sorry for the sermon, but it's not your fault, okay? But maybe you can push people to do something about that. And then, of course, private sector must police its own grants, meaning you have to figure out whether you have transparency in your own grants, and if possible, please push government. We don't mind. I mean, I don't mind when people tell me, they tell me, Undersecretary, you have to do this. Yes, I know, I said that I'm foreign affairs. My colleagues from the Department of Energy, Department of Trade. So I would tell them every time I would see them, ano naman ginagawa niyo dito? What are you doing here? So at least I know, then I can tell people the good news. That's why I said, what else needs to be done? Second, it's not here anymore. Oh, still? Okay. It's not here anymore. But there was a conference held, I think, last week on the manufacturing sector. This is something that we realized, or that the studies have disclosed. One, the higher salaries are in manufacturing. If you are an employee and you want to get higher salary, go to manufacturing. Everybody knows that. Because if your product grows, your salary grows. Unfortunately, in our manufacturing here, they employ lower educated people. Whereas the services group, they hire higher educated people. In services, somehow the average qualification is college graduate, if you notice, or at most 2 years of college. The manufacturing, they take high school graduates. Therefore, our manufacturing sector is not as competitive as it should because of the employees that work there. Second, the manufacturers themselves have not invested in new technologies, in new machineries. And at the same time, maybe because, I don't know, maybe it's our regulatory system, so maybe they think that it's useless to invest more or to upgrade. You know, right now we're already talking of outdated manufacturing processes. Some of us are still there, and therefore our manufacturing, in fact, is going down instead of growing. What is growing is the services sector. Right now we already occupy, or rather we already account for, according to some people, around 40% of our GDP, and that's a lot. 40% is a lot, it's almost half. The other thing that we are competing with is manufacturing. Manufacturing, I think, is just about 38%. So the others is being made up for by agriculture. So having said that, I told you what we in government are doing, and And now I'm also telling you what you in the private sector should be doing. And if you have any questions, I'm free to answer them. Thank you very much.